Hello, my name is Katie Surma. I am a journalist with Inside Climate News, and I'm here today with Patricia Gualinga, a leader of the Quechua people of Sarayaku in the Ecuadorian Amazon. Patricia is an advocate for the rights of indigenous people and of nature. She's faced resistance both within Ecuador and internationally, and her work has helped to ensure that the Amazon rainforest survives. Earlier this year, she was awarded the Olaf Palme Human Rights Award for her work on indigenous rights, the rights of nature, and defending the rainforest. Welcome, Patricia. Congratulations, and thank you for being here.
Bienvenida, Patricia. Muchas gracias por estar aquí y enhorabuena por el premio que ha recibido.
Gracias. Muchísimas gracias.
Thanks a lot.
For people who may not be familiar with you, could you say a little bit about yourself and your community in Ecuador?
Yo soy Patricia Gualinga. Soy del pueblo originario quichua de Sarayaku, que se encuentra en el centro sur de la Amazonía de Ecuador.
I am Patricia Gualinga. I belong to the Quechua people of Sarayaku, and that is a place that is in the central south of Ecuador.
Okay. And can you describe sort of what the Amazon rainforest is like in that part of Ecuador?
Es una selva que no es como selva tan baja, es una selva que tiene cascadas, que tiene ríos de color verde, muchas veces cristalino, que tiene gente, pueblos indígenas que hablan diferentes idiomas, son de diferentes culturas y contextos.
So it is a forest that is full of life. It's, there are waterfalls, there are rivers with green colors, and there are many different indigenous people living in there.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. So we're here today. Stop Ecocide Foundation is facilitating this interview, and I wanted to ask, is an ecocide crime something that you support?
Yo creo que la ley de ecocidio podría apoyar a todo lo que se viene haciendo ahora como pueblos indígenas, porque de alguna manera se reconocería a la naturaleza como sujeto de derecho. Y eso es una de las cosas que hemos planteado dentro de la visión de los pueblos indígenas. Por ejemplo, Sarayaku, con Causa Xacha también.
So yes, she thinks that ecocide law can be very helpful to the indigenous peoples, because one of the things that they are working for is also to grant nature with rights, and that is something that is being worked by the Sarayaku people and with this living forest. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the concept of living forest. I was wondering if you could say more about what that is.
Bueno, es mucho más que un concepto, es la forma en que nosotros nos conectamos con el bosque y la naturaleza, pero
it is more than a concept, it is the way they connect with the forest, with nature.
Pero lo hemos traducido en una frase. Es la búsqueda de un reconocimiento global de que la naturaleza, el bosque, la selva, es un ser vivo, es consciente y es sujeto de derechos.
So they have summed at everything in one sentence, that is that the forest, nature, it is a living being, and it is a subject of rights, because it is a living being.
Yeah. And I know that in Ecuador, the rights of nature have taken root in the legal system. Is it encouraging that sort of that Western legal system has embraced the rights of nature? How do you view sort of Ecuador enshrining that idea into its laws?
Es bueno que la Constitución del Ecuador haga constar los derechos de la naturaleza, y es la sociedad civil la que está promoviendo a que esto se cumpla, porque los gobiernos, por más que sea una ley dentro de la Constitución, siempre están actuando de la misma manera, con el extractivismo.
So it is very good that the Constitution recognizes the rights of nature, and it is good that the civil society is working to remind the government that this is in the Constitution. But the problem is that it needs to be enforced. I mean, it's not only to recognize rights of nature, but also to work and do things in accordance to this. And this is what it is not happening.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about the enforcement. I was going to ask it in regards to free, prior, and informed consent of Indigenous people when it comes to extractive projects, because there was a similar court ruling, and I just want to know if you have confidence that the government will enforce those rulings, enforce the law in the way that it's supposed to.
Está dentro de la Constitución, está en el fallo del caso Sarayaku, de que tienen que tener nuestro consentimiento cuando hagan una consulta. Pero los gobiernos dicen que eso no es vinculante, que solamente es una forma de socializar y no quieren cumplirlo y han violentado derechos con ese argumento.
So it is inside the Constitution, it is within the Constitution, and it was also mentioned when they won the Sarayaki case. Yes. But what is happening is that the governments are saying that it is not binding law. So in that, because of that, they are not respecting these rights of every consultant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Going from the sort of the national, talking about Ecuador, to international level, you've attended a lot of international meetings like the one here in Stockholm. And I'm wondering, do you feel that at those meetings, world leaders are embracing Indigenous voices and participation as much as they say they are?
Yo veo que no hay decisión política firme de los gobiernos y realmente por eso no avanza ninguna decisión que tomen a nivel multilateral, como lo van a hacer ahora, porque no entienden la visión de los pueblos indígenas y más bien están estancados, y mientras no incorporen la visión de los pueblos indígenas, hay muy poca esperanza en las decisiones políticas de los gobiernos.
She says that she sees governments that they are not taking really seriously the issue, and they cannot understand the indigenous vision until the governments really understands what the point of view of indigenous people. There will be no really effective ruling on indigenous rights, or because the governments cannot understand it. There is not strength enough put it into this.
I'd love to ask more about the concept of free, prior, and informed consent. And there's a definition, a legal definition, but I'd love to hear from you what free, prior, and informed consent means.
Los gobiernos como los de Ecuador o de América Latina piensan que eso no tiene vinculación, que para ellos la consulta y el consentimiento no están juntos y por lo tanto no quieren cumplirlo. Para nosotros, los pueblos indígenas, es vinculante y nosotros luchamos para que cumplan.
So on the part of the Ecuador government and the rest of the governments in Latin American countries, the prior consent is not binding. So for them, they don't give the concept this importance. But on the side of the indigenous people, it is binding, and it is very, very important to have it.
Yeah. And this is something that has been violated again and again. This happened to you or your community which led to a major court case in 2012. And I was wondering if you could say a little about that case. It was against an Argentinian oil company and the Ecuadorian government, because the Ecuadorian government let them come into your territory without consulting you and your peoples.
Sí, no, el gobierno de Ecuador no, en nuestro caso no ha cumplido con las leyes y por eso es que el caso Sarayaku va a la Corte Interamericana para demostrar que hay una violación a los derechos de los pueblos indígenas, al territorio de Sarayaku y ganamos el juicio en el 2012.
Yeah, because the Ecuadorian government doesn't believe that it is the prior consent is a legal right.
Yeah.
They didn't accomplish with it, and that's why the Sarayaku people took the case to the Inter-American courts, and there they won the case,
Yeah.
and it was recognized.
Yeah. And, I mean, that was a massive victory for your community. Has it been implemented? Has sort of the ruling been implemented, or are there still, I know, for instance, the company had left tons of dynamite on your territory. Has that been removed?
Independientemente de lo que digan las leyes, la Constitución y todas las cosas que no quieren cumplir los gobiernos, yo quiero decir que nosotros nos acogemos al principio de autodeterminación como pueblos originarios y cuando queremos decirles no van a ingresar, pues no van a ingresar. Esa es una decisión que se ha tomado.
So with independence of what the government says or what the court says, she wants to say that they believe in the independence and of the indigenous peoples, so they have the right to tell someone else, you are not welcome to our territory because they are they are independent. It's autodetermination of indigenous peoples, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sin embargo, a pesar de que hay una sentencia internacional, el gobierno ha cumplido solo la parte fácil.
So even if there was this huge victory, the government has just accomplished the easy part.
Pero no la consulta y el consentimiento, y tampoco puede extraer 1,5 toneladas de explosivos que están en una parte del territorio Sarayaku como símbolo de muerte de una empresa que ingresó bajo complicidad del gobierno.
So they have not accomplished what they all said in the territory, including this dynamite that is still in their territory.
So just to be clear, there is still tons of dynamite left on sovereign territory from a company that did not receive your permission to come onto your territory.
Sí, está ahí y está, la Corte Interamericana sentencia a ese punto, pero el Estado no quiere cumplirlo, no lo puede hacer, es mucho problema, no sabe cómo extraerlo, fue fácil introducirlo, pero no remediarlo.
So yeah, these tons of dynamite are still in their land, but the Ecuadorian state doesn't know how to take it off. It's not so easy. It was easier to put it inside, but not to take it out.
Yeah.
So these tons of dynamite are still there.
Yeah. Por lo tanto, la sentencia está sin cumplirse y nosotros seguimos insistiendo que se cumpla. Hicimos otra demanda en la Corte Constitucional y ahora han fijado recién, después de mucha presión, que se va a ir a audiencia para saber qué dice la Corte Constitucional del incumplimiento del caso Sarayaku.
So the sentence have not been implemented, so they have gone to the constitutional courts, and now they are waiting for the answer from the constitutional courts about the case, because they continue asking for it.
Yeah.
They continue asking for it.
For your community, that has to be terrifying to have unexploded dynamite throughout your territory. I mean, what is that like?
Bueno, hay un espacio de territorio que no podemos acceder, que es uno de esos espacios que eran muy importantes para el pueblo, porque está en las dinamitas, sabemos que hay un riesgo latente y por lo tanto no se ha podido acceder desde el año 2003 a ese espacio.
So it is a part of their territory that they have no access because it's really risky. So from 2003, they cannot go to that part of the territory because it is too dangerous. But it is an essential part of the Sarayaku territory.
Yeah. And just to put a fine point on it, you have title to that land. This is your land. It's you own that, and you can't utilize it because of this company leaving dynamite.
Así es, no podemos acceder. Ahí está ese símbolo de lo que no deben hacer las empresas y los estados.
So yeah, they don't have access to it, and this is the symbol of what states and governments must not do.
Yeah. Switching gears a little bit, I saw that your father passed away, Sabino Gualinga. I'm so sorry. He was an iconic leader, and I would love to ask what lessons he's given you or that you carry with you in the work that you do.
Gracias. Papá falleció casi a los 98 años, hace 3 meses. De él aprendimos la relación con la naturaleza. Él fue el que pudo transmitir la selva viviente.
So his father was almost 98 years old, and he passed away around 3 months ago. And from him, they learned how to relate to nature as a living being, and that's how to relate to a living forest.
Yeah. He testified in front of the Inter-American Court of Human Rights about the living forest. Is that right? I mean, he explained that was a major reason, or his testimony was a major part of the court's ruling in that victory.
Sí, fue creo que por primera vez que una corte, el mundo, conoció lo que realmente era la relación de los pueblos indígenas con la naturaleza, la comunicación que se podía tener. Papá dijo, yo puedo hablar con los árboles, puedo hablar con las lagunas, puedo hablar inclusive con las piedras que ustedes dicen que no tienen vida.
So yes, he was maybe the first person at an international level who could explain this relationship between humans and nature. He said, I can talk to the trees, I can talk to the lagoons, I can talk even to the rocks that you say that they are not alive, and they are.
Global Witness counted that there were 227 lethal attacks on land defenders in 2020. And in 2018, you were the victim of a home invasion related to your advocacy work. What was that experience like for you?
Fue horrible porque yo había luchado, pero hasta ese momento no había sido atacada de manera directa. Cuando rompieron los vidrios de la casa, me amenazaron de muerte. En un inicio quedé bastante desconcertada como persona y pensé solamente en proteger a mi familia, la niña, mi madre, mis padres, ancianos padres. Pero hubo algo que yo sabía que no tenía que hacer, y eso era callarme. Entonces empecé a denunciar.
So she said that was such a terrible experience when she saw these people coming into the house and breaking windows, and her first reaction was, to protect her old parents and her daughter and her family. But there was something that she had very clear is that she would not stop fighting.
Yeah. Advocates of an ecocide crime say that it could help land defenders and that it shifts consciousness on, harm to the environment being something that is criminal, that is wrong. And of course, land defenders are, they're defending the environment, they're putting their lives on the line. Do you think that an ecocide crime could help land defenders in that sense?
Yo creo que sí, por el hecho de que todo va junto. El asesinato a defensores de la tierra es porque defienden la naturaleza. Y esa es la forma de callarlos para que no sigan defendiendo. Entonces, sí podría ayudar. Mientras más presión se haga, más posibilidades tienen de proteger la vida de los defensores.
She says that definitely it will help because the environment defenders are being killed because of they are defending life, and to have a law protecting the life will help environment defenders because it all comes together.
Yeah.
So it can help.
Yeah. When extractive industries, so oil companies or mining companies, come into indigenous territories or other parts of the Amazon rainforest, they're the ones who are doing the extraction, but there are others, for instance, the government lets them in with permitting, and then there are people who finance those activities, usually in faraway places. What would you like to say to people who are far away, making decisions that impact you and others who, live in harmony with nature? What would you like to say to them?
Que sí es verdad que afectan nuestros derechos, nuestro espacio de vida, pero se equivocan cuando dicen que solo nos afectan a nosotros.
That it is true that they are affecting with their activities, they are affecting decisions, they are affecting us and our way of living. But it is not true that it is affecting only us.
Yeah.
Les diría que el planeta Tierra es uno solo, compartimos solo una casa, un hogar, que es de toda la humanidad y por lo tanto afectan su vida, la vida de sus hijos, la vida de las futuras generaciones, y es una actitud irresponsable de ellos pensar que solamente pueden afectar la vida de los pueblos indígenas sin pensar en la globalidad.
Because it is not true that only affects, the indigenous lives, but it affects everybody because we have only one home. So whatever happens in a place is going to affect everybody. So it is an act of foolish irresponsibility not to think of, about your children, their children, and what you are doing affects everybody, not only people in the forest. It affects the whole humanity.
Yeah. Shifting gears, one last question, and it's more personal. Your work is intense, important work. Based on what you just said, people, the world, people's lives hang in the balance here. I'm wondering, you have to feel the weight of that. And what is that like for you?
Tal vez ya nací con este peso, entonces lo he convertido en parte de mi vida. Hay que hacer lo correcto y si podemos hacer algo, lo tenemos que hacer. Esa es la parte de mi responsabilidad, la responsabilidad que también mi padre ha mencionado. Y no solo soy yo, somos un pueblo, somos una familia, somos mucha gente. No pensemos en que solo soy yo. Y son ustedes, y si más se incorporan, no importa fronteras, barreras, religiones, podemos todos juntos hacer algo positivo y frenar toda esta destrucción que está ahorita
Yes, she says she was born with that. Maybe she was born with that responsibility, but it is not only her responsibility; it's everybody's responsibility. And it was maybe because of his father, but it is not only because of him. It's like this is a responsibility of each of us, including ourselves in the Western countries. And we all together we can change the situation if we come together. Because it is everybody's responsibility.
I'll ask one follow-up. To people who want to get involved and follow in your footsteps, any advice for them?
Sí, primero, que el miedo no les paralice.
Yes, the first thing is that don't let fear, sorry, don't let fear paralyze yourself.
Could I ask, is there anything you want to say that I didn't ask that you want to say?
Bueno, que no hay mucho tiempo. Nosotros ya estamos dando todo lo que hemos podido y vamos a seguir en la línea de frente. Pero es momento de que se involucren a presionar a los gobiernos, a los accionistas, a las empresas, a los bancos, a todos desde este otro lado, la otra parte de la sociedad occidental. Porque también es un problema de todos. Nosotros estamos defendiendo nuestro problema y haciendo en la línea de frente y luchando por todos, y ahora también les toca a todos ustedes de la sociedad en general.
So there is no much time left. We are running out of time, so now they are going to continue fighting for this defending rights of nature, but it is the time for us living in the Western society to put pressure in the companies, in the government, in the finances, in everybody who is involved in this decision making to change the situation altogether.
Solo es cuestión de atreverse, de no quedar en el confort, de incidir. Si un pueblo de Sarayaku de 1,300 habitantes pudo hacer la diferencia e inspirar en la lucha, podemos hacer muchas cosas todos juntos.
So it's just a matter of, just act. Because if a little village of 1,300 people could make a difference, then all of us can make that difference. So it is just a question of believing in this and act.
Yeah. Gracias. Yeah.